All the way in bustling San Myshuno, Melody, Orange, and Meki had just finished moving into their new apartment in the Spice District. Orange was working at a nearby restaurant, and Melody had decided to stay home with Meki until he started school. They hadn't started any wedding planning yet, and weren't in a rush too. They're both still young, and their focus is on their son right now. Everything else can come later. Melody loved living in the city, though he could do without the noisy neighbors waking them all up at 2 in the morning. He and Orange took turns complaining until they finally shut up. Melody was shocked at how much harder it was to be a parent without his own nearby. He knew they wouldn't complain if they'd stayed in Gibby Point longer, but it was important to him and Orange to be independent. They were building a life of their own together. Time flew, and Meki got bigger and bigger. Thankfully, the Holy family was able to come to the city for his birthday. It was so nice to see everyone again. AWW, it looks like Meki has a soft spot for his Aunt Sylvia. For their birthday, Melody invited Leona out to breakfast in Evergreen Harbour, the port town she was planning on moving to after graduating from Foxbury. It was nice to spend some one-on-one time with his twin. Then, they went back to Melody and Orange's apartment for cake. Oh my god. Like, yes, obviously, but I would like to make my Sims propose to their partners sometimes. Orange got fired from the restaurant for catering an event without permission, so he had to get a new job, this time in real estate. Also, Melody finally started thinking about the wedding, and he asked Olive to be his sim of Anna and Leona to officiate. Obviously, they both said yes. Meanwhile, back in Gibby Point, Fitri had discovered a passion for acting, and she made up her mind to move to Del Sol Valley after school to pursue it. She also took Intun, the guy she was flirting with at school, out on a date to a sushi bar. Girl, he's not even that cute. As a good friend of mine said, straight women really are the weakest link. Fitri, I'm begging you to not let this man cuff you. Arman is getting pretty good at the guitar. He also has a new flirtation with this guy, Emmanuel Grove. It's Ponya's birthday. Sophie still loves her old man Maul, who, yay, their date. Emmanuel, why are we in Strangerville for our first date? You could have picked literally anywhere else. At least the restaurant looks cute. Oh, neither of them seems into this. I think we can safely call this date a bust. Now that he's officially an elder, Ponya wrote up a will. He wants to make sure his last wishes are clear so no one has to wonder after he's gone. Mood Fitri. I guess she just needed a pre-breakup cry. Looks like Arman has made amends with his childhood enemy, Augustin. AWW, Ponya is teaching his future daughter-in-law how to knit. Over in Britecaster, Leona had just started her last term at university. With her consistently good grades, she was given permission to do a majority of her coursework online. So she and Sylvia went ahead and got a cheap place in Evergreen Harbour together. It definitely wasn't anything glamorous, but it was theirs. Poor Promise could definitely use some work, but that was why Leona chose it. It had good people and good bones, it just needed some help. Plus, they couldn't deny the view, and they weren't talking about the stars. Living with Sylvia was like a dream come true. They could hardly believe they were going to spend the rest of their life with such an amazing person. And with her final grades and graduation right around the corner, fervor couldn't be any closer. Back in San Myshuno, Melody and Orange were finishing up their wedding planning. With their tight budget, Orange made the wedding cake himself. And then they were off to Myshuno Meadows for the ceremony and reception. There, in front of their family and friends, they promised to love and honor one another until death do they part. It is my honor and delight to introduce Mr. and Mr. Lee. Now that they're officially married, Orange and Melody have decided to try for another child. They both grew up with siblings, and they don't want Meki to be lonely when their family lives so far away from San Myshuno. It wasn't long at all until they got a positive pregnancy test. They were thrilled to be adding a new baby to the family. They went right to the doctors and found out they were having a little girl. To celebrate, they took Meki to a Suloni beach for a day out. But while Orange was at work the next day, Melody felt like something was wrong with the baby. Oh no. Melody told Orange as soon as he got home. And together, they buried their daughter, Vivian, in a cemetery in Ravenwood. Grief is always an ugly thing, especially when you have to bury a child that you never got to meet. They were lucky to have a family to depend on in their time of need. And doubly lucky to have Meki's birthday to celebrate to get their minds off of Vivian. Happy birthday, Meki! Over in Jibby Point, Sophie and Ponya were about to be empty nesters. Fitri and Iman only had a few more days before graduating and heading out into the world on their own. Ponya did most of the cooking for the party since Sophie was still at work. It was bittersweet, watching their last two babies become young adults. But Sophie and Ponya were excited to see what they would accomplish out there. After one last hug from their parents, they were off. Fitri was able to get a nice rental in Del Sol Valley. The city air was dirtier than she was used to, but she was sure she would adjust eventually. After signing with a talent agency and landing an audition, she went out to explore the valley a bit. There was a pool across the street from her house, so she took advantage of the sunshine to get her tan on. She also did some socializing, especially with a familiar face. Robert Devereaux, her parents' longtime friend and the father of one of her friends, Marlene. Fitri had known him all her life, but all of a sudden, she was interested. If she was completely honest with herself, the ring on his left hand was a big draw. Regardless of her new interest, she went out and nailed her audition. To celebrate, she invited Robert over to explore their mutual interest. Time for Fitri's first acting gig. She's doing a commercial for a cleaning product, and the ad is pirate-themed, so hair, makeup, and wardrobe took a while. Then it was off to the stage, and she nailed it. Good work. Meanwhile, Iman had finally settled in over in Ravenwood. He secured a job as an undertaker and bought an extremely rundown home. His mother and his sisters would be horrified, but at least he owned a house outright. Was it haunted? Almost certainly, but then, so was most of the town. He was also getting close with Marlene Devereaux, unaware of what his twin was doing with Marlene's father. Marlene invited Iman out on a date, and he eagerly accepted. I'd say it went pretty well. They're very taken with each other, and they have similar future goals in regards to family. Let's just hope Marlene doesn't find out about Fitri and Robert. Because something tells me that would be a relationship killer. Over in Evergreen Harbour, Liana and Sylvia were finishing up their wedding planning. It was being held at Port Promise's community garden late at night so Sylvia's family could attend. It was a simple affair which suited them just fine. They just needed each other, the rest was confetti. My friends, I am happy to present to you Mrs. Andam X Mochest. The newlyweds partied late into the night with their family, including Honey, of course, before heading home to have a private celebration. Over in San Myshuno, Melody wasn't feeling very well. He took a pregnancy test, but he couldn't bring himself to look at the results until Orange came home. Until then, he had to act like everything was normal. Then Orange finally got home and Melody showed him the test. It's positive. Melody and Orange are having another baby. So far, this pregnancy has been rough on Melody. He's constantly sick and uncomfortable, and the mood swings are wild. He also can't stop worrying about another potential miscarriage after what happened with Vivian. He went to his OBGYN and found out he and Orange were having another baby boy. He's also at high risk for PPROM, so he has to be careful. Melody feels like he and Orange are drifting apart lately. Orange has to work all day to provide for them and Meki, and when he gets home in the evening, Melody is either asleep or helping Meki with his homework. They feel more like roommates than a married couple. When it was time to go to the hospital, Orange and Meki both came with. Luckily, it was a weekend, so Meki didn't have to worry about bedtime. This time around, labor felt worse. The contractions felt like they were ripping him apart. And it felt like his baby was never going to actually want to come out. That was when he decided he was done giving birth. If they wanted more kids in the future, they could adopt. But he wasn't doing this again. He couldn't risk his life like this when he already had a child that needed him. Thankfully, it was finally time to push. He's here. Welcome to the world, baby Rowan. In sunny Del Sol Valley, Fitri's life felt amazing. She was doing what she loved and getting recognition for it, and didn't have her parents breathing down her neck about cleaning. Plus, she liked having a casual relationship with a married man. It took some pressure to be exclusive off of her. One night, Fitri went out partying to celebrate a successful rap, and she met a cute bartender named Ramon. Fitri's never met a bad idea she doesn't like. She put on a good girl act with her mom though. Before long, Fitri noticed some changes in her body. To be sure, she took a pregnancy test. Oh God, she's actually pregnant. Ramon was a one-night stand, and Fitri didn't even have his phone number, so she told Robert the baby was his. Unfortunately, their celebrations got a bit too strenuous for Robert's old heart, and it gave out on him. With Robert now gone, Fitri asked Sophie to come with her when it was time to give birth. Of course, Sophie said yes. She wondered who the father of her new grandbaby was, but that didn't matter as much as Fitri's comfort and safety. It's a boy. Welcome to the family, baby Yusri.